I got a little ambitious since the last time I posted a video, and I've actually reassembled the entire playfield, and it's pretty much ready to play. In fact, I've been playing it quite a bit. But I wanted to take an opportunity to show some of the playfield pieces disassembled, so I'm going to actually remove a few pieces of playfield plastic and show you some of the things I had to deal with on this playfield. This is one of the two slingshots right above the flippers, and I wanted to show these little kind of rubbery, I don't know, for lack of a better term, I would say they're like rubber nuts that sit on top of the playfield plastic and hold it in place. And they're actually just on there by friction. If you pull them off, you'll see they just pull straight off. And underneath the playfield bolts are threaded, but these little guys are just rubber and they just fit on by friction. And when I bought the machine, I'd say about half of these were missing. So when I cleaned the machine out, I looked in every little nook and cranny down inside the playfield, and I found a lot of them. So I was able to replace most of them with the originals. So underneath here there are 4 posts, and when I redid the playfield, I took every single post off the playfield. And some of them have screw heads like this one, and some of them have a kind of a hex head with a threaded rod on top. What I did is I took photographs ahead of time of every one of these little sections, and that way when I went to put it back together, I would know which part got a screw head and which part got one of these hex heads. The other difference is some of the posts are machine threaded, which means there's actually a metal receiver or nut on the other side of the playfield to receive it. And some of them are wood screws, and they actually just screw right into the wood of the playfield. One other thing you may notice is that some of this playfield plastic, when I took it off, was warped. The heat from the bulbs underneath had bent it, and I was able to use a heat gun to soften it up and press it flat. Now this piece you'll see on the back is this is actually marker here. This one had a big scratch on it, and most of the area that was scratched was black. So I just took some Sharpie, colored it in, nothing fancy. You can actually see in that little bit of yellow area there where some of the black shows through, but all in all, you can't really tell. No light comes through from the bulb, so it looks really great. I pulled off a piece of the playfield plastic on the right side of the playfield to kind of give you a feel for what it looks like behind here. And another thing I wanted to show you is that at the bottom here, this is the area between the slingshot and this upper bumper here. And these are the two out lanes. This is the out lane here and the in lane here. The in lane, of course, ball goes down, feeds to your flipper, and you're good to go. The out lane, ball drains out of the playfield. Now, when I bought the machine, this post was right about where it is now. And when I disassembled everything to clean it, I realized that somebody had moved it down that far. If you look at the black line, you can see the post is actually over the artwork a little bit. So when I put the playfield back together, I moved that post back up to where it originally was, and you can actually see a hole there from where the screw held it in. Well, what I discovered is that when I played the game, I got the ball drained out the out lane a lot more than it did before, and it made the game not very fun. So I went ahead and pulled the playfield plastic back off, and I moved that post back down to where it was. And it closes up the distance between this bumper here and that post. And I find that the ball it still drains down that out lane a lot more than I like, but it makes the game a lot more fun to have that post just a little bit farther south. This is the spinner, and I replaced a sticker on this. This side of the spinner was the paint was really worn away, and I actually bought a sticker from Marco Specialties that fits right on there to replace it. The other side is original. I didn't do anything to that. But one thing I noticed is that the spinner really didn't spin quite as well as I wanted it to. Of course, when you get the ball to really fly through there, you want to get as many points as you can by spinning that thing around a lot of times. And so I did 2 things to improve that. First of all, I bent the little axle on either side to be straighter than it was. The ends were bent a little bit, and I think that was causing a little extra friction. And then against the conventional wisdom and the best practices for pinball maintenance that I had read, I took a tiny drop of 3-in-1 oil and put it right on the axle on each side. I literally just took a towel and just wiped it with oil, and that was it. And just that little bit of lubrication made this thing spin like you wouldn't believe. I mean, the thing is just so smooth now. It just goes forever if you hit it just right. So I really like the way it plays. It used to be that sometimes it would stick up in the up position, and then, randomly it would fall back down to the rest position, but now it just always ends up right in the rest position. And the right flipper is adjusted just how it should be. If you make a straight line all the way from the in lane straight down, it should line up exactly with the flipper, and I'm going to put this ruler right here to show you that there's a nice straight line all the way down into the drain. The left flipper is a little different situation. You can see that it's angled upward slightly, and there's not a nice straight line all the way down from the in lane down to the end of the flipper. Let me show you why that is. Here we are on the underside of the Gorgar playfield, and right here at the end are the two flipper mechanisms. Here's the right, and here's the left. And if you look closely here, you'll see this flipper mechanism is just like most. They have not changed much even since the electromechanical pinball machine days. You have a coil here, and when it energizes, it pulls in this plunger, which moves this cam and pawl here, which is attached to the flipper bat through this flange up through the playfield. And these set screws hold it in place, and when it fires, it pulls over to the left and moves the flipper arm. Okay, I went ahead and pulled off the flipper bat here just to show you how it works. And you can see, I know the lighting's not very good, but there are two set screws, and those screws are screwed in and into the flipper shaft, and that's what holds it in place. Now this shaft, you'll notice that the bottom of it, if you can see that, is just completely chewed up. And what that means is these little screws, and I'll take one out, these set screws have a little nipple on the end, and that is intended to bite into the metal of the shaft. And what's happened over the years is that that nipple has dug huge holes into the bottom of the flipper arm, the flipper shaft. And that makes it really hard to adjust the shaft in any tiny increment, because that nipple wants to jump to the next big hole in the shaft instead of having a little slight adjustment. So that's why this flipper is not able to be adjusted downward, really. So I've reassembled the flipper that I took apart, and you'll see that sure enough, those set screws went right into the existing holes in the flipper shaft, and it's adjusted incorrectly just as it was before. I wasn't able to adjust it downward at all. It just snaps right back into that bad position. Here's another tip I wanted to show you that I learned as I was restoring this machine, and that is how to adjust the switches and how to know when you need to adjust them. And I discovered that when I played the machine, if I hit the side of the machine, if I hit the buttons too hard on the side or I bumped it with my knee, points would score. So I didn't even have to have a ball in the playfield. If I hit the machine too hard, points would increment on the score. And that was because one of the switches somewhere on the playfield was adjusted too close. So I found the switch by pulling off the glass and just sort of touching around the playfield with my hand until I found the switch that was really sensitive. But I wanted to kind of show you how you adjust a switch. So I'm going to take off this piece of playfield plastic here. And underneath you'll see there's a brand new piece of rubber, and we'll just pull that guy off. And this is actually the drop target, and I've dropped the targets down into the playfield. But you can see here there's a switch, and it's just two pieces of copper leaf with gold contacts inside that touch when you push them together. And the distance between those two contacts, and you can probably see it pretty well right here, dictates how sensitive that switch will be. And when I put the playfield rubber back on, it actually depresses this piece of copper slightly so they're even closer. But what you want to do is this back piece, there's the back piece of copper, you can use needle nose pliers. There's actually a tool for bending the switch into position so you don't ruin it. But down right alongside this inner piece of copper is another stiffener. It's like a thicker piece of metal. And you can actually push that backwards slightly to help adjust your switch distance. So if you have phantom scoring going on, that's the first thing you want to check is for these switches all around the playfield. I wanted to show what my next step is on the Gorgar machine. And really for me, this is one of the most disappointing things condition-wise about this machine, and that is the backglass. And it may be hard to tell, but these stripes here that look like lightning, that's not intentional. Those are actually areas where the heat from the bulbs in the back box have damaged the paint, and the paint has flaked off inside the back box. So a couple things I can do about that. I can ignore it, just go with it. But another option for me would be to buy a new backglass. And for a machine of this age, they don't exactly grow on trees. So it would probably cost me quite a bit of money to do that. Another option is I can try to restore it myself. And there's a lot of there are a lot of opinions on that, especially for a novice to take that on. And the reason is that parts of the backglass are actually translucent and parts are opaque. And the translucent parts, like Gorgar's skin here, the light shines through. So if I was to try to paint the damage, I would not only have to match the color of the paint, but I would have to match also the level of translucency, or you would see right where all the problems are. So that said, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm actually going to try in a few inconspicuous areas to match the paint and see what I can do. I feel like the nature of the damage and the art here is that I've had people comment to me on several occasions that they think the damage looks like lightning, which would kind of go with this theme. So I figure even if I don't do that great of a job, it might just come off like intentional, like that was part of the artwork. So I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to really take my time, and that'll probably be a whole video unto itself, is restoring Gorgar's backglass.